Good morning, everyone. Before we dive into our panel session, I'm actually going to go through a quick presentation to give a little context, and I think it'll frame our discussion nicely. So I'm just going to quickly, so you know who our panel is, introduce them myself, and then they'll go through a little bit more detail as we get started later. But Peter Lin is a senior program manager for innovative integrated retail and mobile commerce solutions in Sears Holdings, including mobile point of sale, self-checkout, kiosks, and other innovations. Peter holds a PhD from the University of Illinois at Chicago and executive MBA from the University of Notre Dame. He's been awarded several patents in seamless mobility services. And Bob Murray is the senior consultant of customer engagement at Claris Retail Solutions. Claris is an independent retail consultancy committed to improving the performance of their clients' operations with new strategies and technology. And my name is Marco Ventura with a company called T1 Visions. We create software and integrate hardware using large format interactive displays that are being used in retail environments to augment the in-store experience and drive sales. Really been fascinating to hear some of the discussions at this conference. So we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we look at mobile in our company as a piece of a much larger puzzle, and the puzzle is what I'm going to talk about here a little bit today. So to begin, I'm going to start with a story. It I think always helps to sort of give some, again, a little bit of context. About a month ago, I was on a plane flying to Dallas. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and was just flying for a customer meeting. And as the plane leveled off, I suddenly realized that I started getting this cold sweat, and I started getting a little panic. I realized I forgot my awesome Italian leather shoes. I work for a tech company, so we're extremely casual. I had my Chucks, and I was starting to worry about how I was going to actually go to this meeting without without my power shoes. So I recognized I need to go shopping, and I calculated that I had about 2 hours or so from the time I landed to sort of figure something out. But I'm at 30,000 feet in the air. I started thinking. I've got my iPad. I have in-flight wireless. So I started browsing. I started going online. Started looking at what I could do. Interestingly, that morning, I know this is surprising, but I'd gotten a 30% off coupon from a retailer. I know they're very rare. So I thought, well, that would be a good place to start. And so I looked at that retailer, and lo and behold, I found some perfect shoes. I looked at where my meeting was and where the stores were. I found that there was one like 7 miles away. So I was like, perfect. Let me go ahead and go there. I got the shoes. I actually reserved them online for in-store pickup, and I thought that was awesome. I was like, this is great. I landed in Dallas, and like a stealth ninja warrior, I went and raced to the store, picked up my shoes. I actually ended up getting another shirt there too while I was there, and I was a happy Omni-Channel shopper. I basically gotten this wonderful experience. And the reason for me sort of starting with this discussion is it sort of made me think. It made me think a little bit about the way that retail has changed and the way that the consumer has changed significantly in the last decade. If you think about people walking through the stores of a retail, the doors of a retail store today compared to a decade ago, I think their expectations are totally different. I also think about, I love this quote by Bill Gates, whereby he says that we tend to overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate it in 10 years. That whole sort of experience I described, flying to Dallas and everything, 10 years ago, that would have been impossible. I would argue even 5 years ago that would have been possible. So, and just listening to some of the things at this conference, I mean, how many of you in the room today, thought like a year ago, God, this is gonna, everything's gonna change this year. And I think if you look at it in those increments, it's really hard to sort of get a sense of change. But make no mistake, there are seismic changes, paradigm shifts that are taking place that I think we're all a part of. So let's look at just a couple of statistics that just sort of help sort of understand the overall market. We know that people that shop in multiple channels or omni-channel shoppers, first of all, spend 3.5 times more than single-channel shoppers. So they're a pretty important segment to think about. I think another really interesting data point is that a third of the time somebody walks into a store, they don't find what they're looking for. And I think that, and in some segments, like apparel, it's even, I think it's like 47%. That's pretty shocking. And another data point that I think is even more interesting is that in that case, when they don't find what they're looking for, if a store associate can intervene and propose some alternatives, or say, hey, let me call some other stores, let me do something for you, they can change that trajectory and can make it so there is a transaction that takes place. So I think this is really important to keep in mind. Anecdotally, just looking at the connected consumers that are walking into stores today, I can't tell you how many retailers I talk to that say, it's amazing how much information people have when they walk into a store today, to the point where they have more information than the store associates. And that's pretty remarkable. And if you think about the role that the store associate has today, I think it has to continue to change. They cannot be passive order takers. That's never been the case. Obviously, that's never been a good experience, but I think it's even more so the case today. And I also think that that customers today, they believe that the in-store experience needs to be superior than the online experience. Otherwise, why should I get off my couch and go into a store? There's no compelling reason to do that. So I think that brick and mortar retailers have to really change, or they're going to become irrelevant. And there's no question about that. And we've already seen sort of some early casualties. Harvard Business Review a few years ago did and it's a few years old, but I think it's very, very relevant. They put the advantages of physical retail in one sort of list, and advantages of digital retail into another list. And I think that the way I like to look at it, I think these have to be all one experience, basically, when you walk into a store. And there is that opportunity to take stores and transform them into this digital physical blur that actually is interesting. Accenture came out with a trend study this year, and the trend number one that they identified 5 trends, was exactly, they actually called it the digital physical blur. So it's a really interesting phenomenon that we're seeing today. And I think of the you look at these images of stores, and I know there might not be as clear with some of the light coming in, but if you can look into them, these are all, I think, phenomenal examples of, these are not renderings, these are not concept stores, these are actual real stores that are out there, whereby we've put in our solutions that can be some digital signage, interactive tables, walls, all these solutions that are making the store do so much more than what was possible in sort of the four walls previously. I could talk for hours on each of these specific areas and tell you all about digital signage and clienteling mobile solutions and large format interactive services, all these things. But in the interest of time, and obviously I want to jump into the panel, there's a fascinating white paper that I encourage you to read, where I do go into a little bit more detail in some of these areas. One I did want to focus on, though, I think it's a product that we're particularly proud of in our company. And what you're looking at here is a interactive table. And it has this beautiful continuous piece of glass. It's sort of the seamless integration of furniture, hardware, and software all in one. And it allows you to do a couple of things. You can browse and look at merchandise that's both in the store and not in the store, and really get exposed to all inventory. So it queries inventory systems in real time. And if something is in the store, it says, "Great news, Marco, this item is, you can get it in the store." If it's not in the store, it says, "Marco, great news, we can get this shipped to you in a day." And I think ultimately, it's not going to be too far off where they say it'll be available the same day. And you can check out as well, so it's transactional. Hence, our take on the mobile solution is that we feel like these are almost like keys that can sort of authenticate you and to have a personalized experience. So we're really exploring these solutions, and we're very, very excited about where they're going to bring us and retailers to create sort of this frictionless journey that we're all about. Because I think right now there is friction in some of these areas, and I think that these technologies can really help smooth that out. I look at the retail landscape. The Chinese war general Sun Tzu in Art of War said, "Amidst chaos, there is great opportunity." And that pretty much sums up how I feel about retail today. I think there are so many technologies and so many solutions, it's daunting to try to understand how all these pieces fit. And I think every retailer is going to have to look at what makes sense for them, what's appropriate, what can really move the needle. But that said, figuring it out, the in-store experience can be so much more engaging and rich, and can really develop in a very, very exciting way, I think. So again, I think these lines of physical and digital are blurring, and ultimately I think that retailers that make this convergence frictionless for their customers are going to win in the long term. So with that said, I know Peter, you wanted to also show a couple of things as well from Sears, and I'll let you go ahead and do that as well. We're just going to toggle over, and then I promise you, we will get into the panel session.
Yeah, I want to show a video which relates to this integrated retail topic. And I think all of you probably heard a lot about the integrated retail or Omni-Channel. I just want to talk a little bit about what we have experienced in the last couple of years. And Omni-Channel, as most people just talk about, is slightly different, in my view, than integrated retail. You can have many discrete channels, like online, in-store, or mobile, but unless they all work seamlessly together to help the user, it's still just discrete channels. So integrated retail, in my view, is those channels all work together to serve the shopper in a seamless fashion so that the shopper can buy the things that they want anytime, anywhere, any way they want to pay. And that is my own definition of integrated retail. So I start with maybe one personal experience. Recently, our washer and dryer has stopped making some noise. So my wife, asked me, "Hey, can you look into that?" So, so at home, I started looking into the dryer, and I could not fix it. So I called a technician. So a technician came in, and he's equipped with all the tools and the bells and whistles, and very quickly won my confidence in him. And so I was just wondering, wouldn't it be nice that that technician has a tool in his possession that can show me what's the newest washer dryer bundle out there, what offers are available? Because our washer and dryer is like 15, 20 years old, and it's not necessarily the most energy efficient one, and certainly does not have all this, Internet of Things, those remote control capabilities. It would be really nice to have that kind of tools. So by the way, Sears has like 8,000 technicians in the field repair those things, and right now I'm just thinking, it would be nice to bring those kind of tools to the customer, to help the customer where the needs are greatest. So then, anyway, so I went on and went online later on and checked what washers and dryers are available. And of course, everyone has smartphones, and then I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice when I walk by one of the appliance stores, and those appliance stores already know what I'm looking for, what my needs are, and send me specific and targeted offers that are relevant to me, instead of sending me some shoes what would be good for Marco but not for me, right? And so last but not least, when I finally get into a store, instead of telling the associate what I'm looking for or what research I have done, the associate already knows exactly what I'm looking for and what models are best for me, and then bring me directly to that washer and dryer and show me, demonstrate to me how it helps me, right? So regardless whether you're at home or you're online or using a phone or in the store, it should help the shopper seamlessly without thinking about, which channel, I'm in, what application I have to pull up. So integrated retail, in my view, we just call it seamless shopping. So whether you are in the store or home or online or phone, so SHOP, regardless where you are and whatever channel you are using, you should get the best user experience. So just last 2 years, we have made some progresses there, and yeah, we also got some awards and so on. But what I want to share with you is this video and what we feel should be the integrated retail, which is already in the store right now.
Introducing in-vehicle pickup, one more convenient way to shop your way at Sears. This free curbside service. Lets you pick up your online purchase at any Sears store within 5 minutes of arrival, guaranteed, without ever leaving your car. Here's how it works. When placing your order online, simply select in-vehicle pickup after you check out. Once you get to the store, pull into one of the reserved parking spots. Then, use the Shop Your Way mobile app to shop in on your smartphone and touch the in-vehicle pickup icon to let the store know you've arrived. A countdown timer will begin. Within 5 minutes or less, guaranteed, an associate will load your purchase into your car and you're on your way. This convenient curbside service is absolutely free for members. In-vehicle pickup. One more way to shop your way at Sears. Download today to shop your way.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So with that said, I wanted to ask my panel. Bob, let me start with you. And I'll ask the same question to both you guys. But if you can give me a sense of the, from your clients that you consult with, what is the, how has that consumer changed that is walking into the retailer's, store today? What is that transformation look like from your perspective?
Well, I would say that it depends on the company and the consumer. I think that's key, first of all, depending on the history behind them. But I think that they have a sense of expectations, right? I always laugh when I see a hotel that says, free television, on the outside, because that's been out there for like decades, right? Now that you have free Wi-Fi, and when you walk into a place and they don't have Wi-Fi, people get upset, right? And so I think, you know, to the consumers, there's a sense of expectations, again, depending on who they are and you know, what's the experience that the retailer is you know, trying to give. You know, if you walk in and you don't meet that expectation, there is a higher impact. There's a higher level of impact. And, you know, because, again, we're talking about cell phones, we're talking about, I mean, you're totally connected to a consumer. You have the option, at least, to be totally connected. The question is you know, how do you want to drive that conversation?
Okay. Peter, a question for you. What sort of role do you think the physical store has today? What is the importance and significance of the physical store, in your opinion?
Yeah. In my view, the physical presence or the physical store has undergone 3 waves. In the first wave, in good old days, when you still have those general stores, and people just go to those general stores for all their everyday needs. And there, the associate or the shop owner and the shopper have a very intimate relationship. And they know each other and they chat about, you know, what's happening in the family and so on. And at that time, you know, the physical store was the only choice pretty much for the shoppers. And the physical store was the winner. And in the second wave, recently in the last 10, 20 years, with the emergence of online shopping, the physical store was severely challenged. And people went to the store and did the showrooming, and then they went to the online store and bought the items. So in the second wave, certainly the physical store has encountered a lot of challenges, and I would say in this second wave, online store has won. Okay, but now I think we are in the middle of the third wave. In the third wave, with all these new technologies being implemented in the store, and we have the so-called integrated retail, whether you do online shopping or use mobile phones, and or you go to the store with uses, beautiful, in-store kiosks that Marco has shown you. The shopper has much more choices and has much more power and has a much better user experience than in the previous 2 waves. And I think physical store has, again, gained more significance in this new integrated retail landscape. And I would declare the physical store, together with its online presence as well as mobile phone presence and so on, as the winner in this case. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Question for you, Bob. We've been talking about how all these channels need to be sort of connected and sort of there's this convergence. Have you had any example? Can you give me examples of when sort of omni-channel doesn't work and hasn't been phenomenal? I'm just curious. I know you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, I love telling stories more than sitting down in a discussion, the black and whites of technology and process sometimes. Because we all, just like our consumers, we're all different. We all have different approaches, and we sometimes don't connect to understand some of the technical jargon when we walk through things. So, when we tell stories, I think we tend to reflect a little more, and we apply it to our own lives. I was working in a retailer in Florida, and just like every other technical retailer, lots of hours, real busy, and my car needed new tires, and I said, well, let me look online real quick. I'm going to take a lunch break in about 30 minutes, depending on a meeting, and and I can hopefully zoom in, zoom out, drop off the car or whatever. And I found there was a tire store that was literally like just up the road, and I had this deal going. Oh, you buy 2, get 2 for free. And I said, that's great. This is, I'll get a hold of one of my engineers. He says, hey, can we go and drop off the car real quick and come back? He goes, yeah, but we got to be back quick. I'm like, okay. So get in the car, drive over, and there was a person in front of me. I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy on the phone, right? And the person moved out of the way. They were done. I walk up and I said, I want to buy 4 tires. I saw that you guys were here on your website. And the guy says, no problem. He tells me, here's the amount. And I says, no, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. He says, I saw on your website that you had a buy 2, get 2 for free. And he goes, yeah. He says, but you have to make that reservation online. I looked and said, really? And of course, you know, being that we work in this space, we kind of look at that and I go, okay, that's wrong. It doesn't make any sense. So I take up my phone, and meanwhile, I've got another person who's behind me. I take up my phone and I go to the website. My website's not mobile enabled, so you know what I'm doing, right? Pinching and zooming and trying to navigate. He goes, what are you doing? I says, I'm making my appointment. And he goes, but I have someone behind you. Can you move out of the way? And now I'm from New York. I'm living in Florida. So my answer is no. So I open up and I'm sitting there and he goes, all right, never mind. I'll do it. And I'm going, you should have done it to begin with. But you know, it is interesting. I'm sure there's a story about how those individual teams come together and how they market. You know, working in technology for over 20 years in retailers, I love being in rooms with marketing people and operations people and leave all the geeks out of the room. Because I love hearing about what a company's really trying to do and how they're trying to engage their consumer. And then go back to the technology to build something that actually touches them and allows to interact with them when they're ready.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Bob. And I think that that's something we encounter a lot of times where some of our customers see all these cool things and they just want to put sort of technology in for the sake of technology, as opposed to looking at sort of what are the real business problems. Let's figure out how to solve those problems with technology if it's appropriate. And I think that's a sort of a better way to do it. And actually, that's a good segue for you, Peter, and or Bob. Either of you can answer this question. How do you prioritize with all the types of things that are out there, all the solutions? How do you prioritize and pick the right solutions that you know, it's like you have to sort of hedge your bets and sort of know which technologies are going to work, which ones are not. How do you make that process efficient?
I agree with what Bob mentioned before. We should not choose a technology or invest in technology for the sake of the technology. You know, just you know, to meet the curiosity of those you know, nerds, right? And we should always have the interest and the needs of our customers in mind. So I would invest in technologies that would enable the retailers to better serve its core customers. For example, I would mention, when a customer walks up to our associate today, associate knows very little about the particular customer. Very, very different than in the general store days. And if, with the permission of the shopper, if we can put those knowledge and the information about the shopper in the hands of the associates, so that associates can have a much more relevant conversation with the shopper, I think we should invest in this type of technologies. Not just have a mobile point of sales in the hands, an iPad, but also put relevant information about the shopper in the hands of the associates so they can better serve the customer.
Yeah, I'm indecisive. I've been a vendor, I've been a consultant, and I've been a retailer for the past 25 years. So, which is giving great insight into all those various areas. And as a consultant and working in a retailer, especially in the technology side, a lot of times what you do is you walk into a meeting that someone booked, or you'll be called and someone will say, I need you to put iPads in all my stores. And I go, okay, why? I did an exercise once where I went outside and I paid for a really nice rosewood 2.5 pound piece of wood that looks really nice, and it says My Tablet, and I've handed it to executives and said, can we walk around the store and talk about how you're going to use, how you're going to engage, what are you trying to do, right? And the challenge is, the good news is we're connected, right? We talk about it. Well, the bad news is we're connected, and everyone thinks that what's on the internet is easy, it's realistic, and it works. And so, we have marketing, operations, we have a business, and they all think that they understand what the right solution is technically, and they sometimes want to just hand it to you. So you have to kind of step back and walk through with them, what are you trying to do? And then once you can get to that, that's really the core, that's the first step. When you can really understand what a company's trying to do to engage their consumer, what type of experience are they going to do, who is their consumer, then you start looking at the technology and look at what you already have inside of a company to leverage that and make the right decisions.
I'm going to open up for some questions. I don't know if there's some members in the audience that would like to ask our panel some questions about anything that we've seen or things that we've discussed. Yes. Okay, so the question is about how all this data can be collected and used, effectively. Maybe, I don't know, Peter or Bob, if you want to answer the question.
Okay, and let me take a stab at this. Yeah. There is always this tension between concerns for privacy and the need for convenience. And so this is the spectrum, and we need to strike a sensible balance between it. And I feel very strongly that the customer and shopper should have a say in this. We should let the customer, shopper, decide how much information they are willing to share with others so that they can get better services. And I think we are, people of my age, I think we are still thinking a lot about our privacy and our, but if you look at like my children, and go to their Facebook page, and you will see how much information they just openly share. And so I think this is, I think, a very dynamic, case, and it depends on the demographics and the willingness to share, and also the amount of convenience that they can get.
Yeah, I'll add to that in that data is always, to me, data is key. I met Ted Waite once. He was the owner of Gateway Computers, and when he opened up Gateway Country, and he opened up the store, he said, to represent his company. He goes, you're not responsible for representing your store. I want you to represent the people and the culture of Gateway, and I want you to engage and be an advocate for your consumer. Now, don't judge the outcome of where Gateway Country ended up going, but it was a great company, and he had the right approach. When you walk into a retailer, what you tend to find is they have a lot of data. Matter of fact, they probably have too much data in too many different places, because as you execute, as a company grows, there isn't a lot of time and money put into, well, let me redefine, resolution my data infrastructure, right? Sometimes it's, I can move fast and get something done because I'm growing fast. Look at cell phones, it's a great example, right? Is the technology, when you look at all the history of retail, that technology is changing faster. By the time you're done with something, if you look at a 1,000-store chain, 1,500-store chain, it takes a year to get a major effort of getting a technology out to the field. So a year. So what happens in a year? Think about that. Think about your phones. I would say that centralizing your data is a great effort, and then of course securing it, and then building better methods to use it. And then as you go through growing and evolving your company, as you start engaging your consumer, understanding how you can, reuse some of the solutions you already have and evolve them.
Okay. We're pretty much, I guess we have one more question. Go ahead.
I think you hit the nail on the head. We are, as a company, we are in the middle of the transformation from a retail-centric business model to a more member-centric business model. So instead of just focus on individual transactions, how much we can sell to a particular customer, we view this customer as a member, and we want to serve the member. We want to keep the best interest of the member in mind. So our technology, our innovation, and our investment is all centered around that goal. So instead of just trying to sell you something quick.
Yeah, I've been really lucky. I've worked for over 40 different retailers and hotels in my life so far, and every retailer company has a great story to tell. They acquisition brands, right? They build brands, and for years the way that we built retail environments is we focused on channels, we focused on product, and although we captured customer data, we didn't focus on the customer. I mean, we did. And our store staff learned how to do it even better. I would say, centralizing your data and learning about your consumer and learning about your consumer's friends and social network is really where a lot of people are starting to look now. As I've gone around in the past couple of years and met with retailers, I can tell you that it's interesting to watch a single data point of CRM data is a great example, and watching how it gets replicated out several different times, because every channel over the course of years needed that data. And then watching how those solutions evolved, and I mean, it was interesting to watch how much replicated data you had and all the history behind the solutions that would basically change that data around so it would work with solutions. I would say that retailers in general are changing that.
Okay, I think we're pretty much out of time here, so thank you very much to the panel, and we think there's a lot of really exciting things that are coming to the in-store experience that I think is going to be just fascinating. Thank you again for everyone's time.